Welcome to the Oasis. My name's Mike and welcome to this Christmas special episode of Ask Mike Anything. So this is something I do once a month. I put it out there on my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, YouTube, whatever it may be, and I put it out there for you guys and girls to ask me anything you want. It can be about me personally or VR in general. And I try to gather up all the best questions and read them out and answer them on these sort of monthly videos. So I'd also like to welcome all the VR newcomers, because I'm sure plenty of you picked up a VR headset over the holiday season. I'd love to know which headset you got and what you've been checking out. Please let us know in the comments down below. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Ask Mike Anything, and let's dive into the questions. First question is from my friend and VR colleague Nathy, and he asks, what is your top 5 best VR games of 2018? Good question. So first up, I would say is Astrobot on PSVR. I think not only is it a solid VR platformer, it's probably one of the best platforming games full stop that I've played in recent years. Next, I would say Beat Saber on PC VR. That game keeps going from strength to strength. Not only do you have the ability to add custom tracks of your own, but they're also releasing solid, proper, fully fledged tracks from the Beat Saber team themselves, including the most recent KDA pop stars. So I think 2019, we're going to see a lot more tracks from famous artists in Beat Saber, so I'm really looking forward to that. Then I would say Windlands 2 on PC VR again. I think that game was one of the standout games for me of the year. The feeling of freedom swinging through the trees, the sense of momentum and speed was absolutely awesome, and it had some really epic boss fights as well to boot, so definitely recommend Windlands 2. Then I'd say in terms of puzzle games, my favourite puzzle game was Red Matter. That's available on PSVR as well now, but the puzzle mechanics and design are some of the best I've ever seen in VR, and also the sense of atmosphere and the sense of weight and interaction with those little pincers they give you is really, really amazing. So Red Matter definitely deserves a place on the list. And then finally, last but by no means least, is virtual reality on the Oculus Go. I thought that was a standout title and really showed that it's possible to do an epic game on a mobile platform in terms of storytelling and interactivity. That was definitely one to recommend and stood out for me. So I hope that clears things up. So Astrobot, Beat Saber, Red Matter, Windlands 2, and of course virtual reality. Next question is from Sharp Doggo, and they ask, what's your favourite social app for Oculus Go? I think that's a good question, but one that gets overlooked I think a lot is Oculus Rooms. I think it's a fantastic social experience. You can invite up to 3 friends over to your own custom pad, and then you can play little games with them like Boggle or Checkers, and then you can share content from your Facebook page like videos and pictures with them, and also listen to music together. And I think it's one of those standout social experiences, and it just works so well. The audio is so clear on Oculus Go, and also you can use it as a leapfrog platform to jump into games together, multiplayer. So for Dead and Buried is a good example. You can all jump in to Dead and Buried from Oculus Rooms, and I really hope they take this kind of platform that they've developed here on Oculus Go, they bring it to Oculus Quest and pump it up a little bit more with some steroids and make it a lot more accessible. So it is kind of one of those springboards that you use in terms of getting into games with your friends. You invite them all over as a group and then you jump into a game together. So I really hope they push that idea a lot further with the Quest. So I hope that answers your question. But there is another question that revolves around social applications, and that is from Jess Gaming. And they ask, what's the best game for talking to other people, Oculus Go and Rift? So I think Rooms is great for inviting people over, but if you want to talk to random strangers and maybe make new friends online, then definitely for Oculus Go, I would say Altspace is the one to go for. If you're on Oculus Rift or other PC-based headsets, then I would say VR Chat is the one to go for. Nathan and I had some amazing experiences in VR Chat at the height of the boom. Not only were we sort of really enjoying some of the memes out there, but also one of the standout experiences for me was that one day me and Nathan just went into this kind of disco in VR Chat. There was a huge Christmas tree there. There was a party going on. Everyone was dancing. There was a DJ, and it just felt like this kind of magical experience, you know, like that scene out of Ready Player One where Parzival enters the distracted globe. It felt a little bit like that. I'm sure things will improve over time, but that was kind of one of the first little tastes taste for me of the magic of like social VR. So I hope that answers your question, Jess. Next question is from PlainFan08. What is the Quest feature you're most hype for? I think I'm just hyped in general for the Oculus Quest. I'm super excited about that headset. Obviously, I got to try it way back at OC5, and I'm sure since then they've been working hard on improving the little niggles that we had whilst there in terms of the tracking. It was a little bit hit and miss at times, but overall, I'm just excited about the fact that it's completely portable. The fact that I can just pick it up, take it around a friend's house and share with them the magic of VR and kind of get them excited about what VR is all about. Because like I've said many times before, I think one of the biggest barriers to entries to VR is the fact that not many people have tried it. And I think now with the Oculus Go, Oculus Quest, other mobile VR headsets, standalone headsets like the Google Daydream platform with Lenovo, and these other ones that are coming from HTC in terms of the Vive Focus, I think all these headsets are going to be great for VR industry in general because it means that people are going to try it. People are going to take it out of their houses, take it to a friend's house, show friends and family what it's all about. So that is what I'm most excited about for the Oculus Quest and standalone headsets in general. So a series of questions here from South Memphis. Favorite 80s cartoon is number one. It's an easy one. Thundercats was my favorite. And a little Easter egg here is, if you didn't know, is Parzival from Ready Player One. If you look closely at his belt buckle in the movie, you'll see the Thundercats logo. A little Easter egg for you there. Favorite 90s Christmas TV show episode? Well, if you're from the UK, you'll definitely know this one, and it's a TV series called Bottom that featured Rick Mayall, and they had some hilarious sketches during this TV series, but the Christmas episode was one of my favorites. So if you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. It's a brilliant one, but it is for adults, so just be aware of that. Next up, favourite Christmas song. I wish it could be Christmas every day, of course. And then favourite Christmas toy. Really good question. I would say it was when I got my Super Nintendo for Christmas. I can't believe it was that long ago now, but many, many years ago, and I was super, super excited for my Super Nintendo and absolutely loved that console. So that was probably one of my favourite Christmas toys from yesteryear. So let me know yours in the comments down below. I'd love to know, because we've all had those nostalgic moments of opening something epic that we've been dying for Christmas, and maybe this year it was a VR headset. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Next question is from My Rift Kid. With all the changes and updates that have happened in the last year, will you be doing a new tutorial on setting up mixed reality on Rift? It's a great question, and the thing is, I do a lot of video guides on how to get set up with things or show you how to do things, and the problem is, like you said, these guys probably last 2 or 3 weeks, the application gets updated, and then the guide that I gave you is completely broken, and a lot of you complain in the comments, and I can understand why. So yeah, I will be focusing on doing some updated guides in the new year. I know a lot of you guys and girls out there really enjoy them and find them super helpful, so I will be focusing on that. The Live Mixed Reality guide is definitely on my list, along with a new guide on how to get connected with Steam VR from Oculus Home, because I know a lot of you have been asking me questions about that again recently. And then thirdly, Oculus Go users that have been looking to sideload applications, I know have been struggling recently, so maybe I'll look at updating that guide as well. So yeah, stay tuned to the channel for more guides in the future. This is a great question on YouTube from the Narutimate11. What's your best co-op game in Oculus Rift? So recently I met up with Nathy in the Netherlands at his pad, and we played a couch co-op game, Carly and the Reaper Man, on Oculus Rift. And I have to say, that game really surprised me, and we had so much fun playing that. So that is definitely one I'd recommend if you've got someone in your house to play it with. You can play it online as well, just FYI, using a program called Parsec. But if we're going for a native sort of online supported co-op game, I would still say Killing Floor Incursion is one of my favorites. It's got some epic moments in that game, especially my personal favorite, the Paris level where you're both sniping together. I think that is an epic part of that game, and I really enjoyed playing it co-op, so I hope that answers the question. So let's move on to some questions from Twitter. And first up is a question from Alex Medgia. He's the developer of Starship Commander, by the way. And he asks, what was your favourite classic adventure game? That is a really good question, and I don't think you'll be surprised to hear, because I think this is pretty much everyone's favourite, and that is The Secret of Monkey Island. Now, if you've never played this game, it's quite an old game now, but I remember playing it way back in the day on the Amiga. And it was one of the first classic adventure games that I actually ever completed, and that really sort of gave me a taste for point-and-click adventures, and I've been playing them ever since, such as Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, Sam & Max, Phil McCracken, Indiana Jones, and just recently I've picked up a game called Thimbleweed Park, I believe it's called, and that's on the Switch. So I'm still playing point-and-click adventures to this very day, but Monkey Island, or The Secret of Monkey Island, was certainly the game that started it all off. So yeah, I'd love to know your retro point-and-click action adventure games in the comments down below. I'd love to know. Let me know. Question on Twitter from Jacob Singer. What's the first Christmas you remember that revolved around gaming for you? So I remember this vividly, and I was staying at an uncle's house for Christmas with the rest of my family, and I was super young, so maybe about 7 years old. And I remember getting a Commodore 64 for Christmas. I'm really starting to show my age here, but the Commodore 64 was like the PC of its time, and you could play games on it and do some really basic stuff on it. But I remember playing some classic games from that era, like Rambo, Miami Vice, and games like that. You know, I have really fond memories of playing those games as a kid, and it would take ages. You'd have to play them on tape cassettes, and you'd have to press play, and it would take about 5 to 10 minutes to load a game, but it was totally worth it in the end. And then they came out with these huge floppy disks. Again, still took forever to load, but was a little bit quicker than using tapes. But yeah, I've got some super fond memories of literally taking that Commodore 64 with me everywhere I went, so I could set it up and play games. And I think that was one of the first things that really got me into PC gaming, because, like I said, I took it everywhere. I could set it up myself, even at a young age. So that I've got some really fond memories of that as a kid. So if you ever played around with a Commodore 64, let me know in the comments down below. So we've got a great question here on Twitter from Hala Azad Manji, and he asks, if you didn't own a Rift, but you do own a VR-capable PC, what would you buy, a Quest or a Rift? I think it's a really good question, and I think the answer is, if you own a VR-capable PC, then the Rift, of course, is the way to go. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the Oculus Quest is a fantastic headset, and I think it will give the VR industry the much-needed boost that it needs. However, you're always going to get the better experience with a PC powering it. You know, with the Oculus Quest, you're going to be playing the same games, albeit at a lower graphical fidelity. So if you want the best experience, then of course the PC is the way to go. So I hope that answers your question. You know, I think the Rift is going to be the choice if you own a VR-capable PC. This is a question from Matt Borgman on Twitter. Do you think VR will end up like how PCs are, where you can build a preferred setup, i.e. Oculus HMD, with Vive base stations? Or do you think it will stay more similar to console ecosystems as it is now? I don't think there'll ever be a time where the Rift will work with the Vive base stations. They're just two separate tracking systems that just won't work together. However, Steam VR headsets tend to be kind of interchangeable. So, you know, you've got the Vive, you've got the Pimax, and then potentially you've got this upcoming headset from Valve. And I do think, you know, you're going to be able to change some stuff around. So the Pimax works with the Vive ones, for example, and Vive base stations. And maybe, you know, in the future, it will also work with the Knuckles controllers. So I really do like this kind of idea of choosing the best of each system. So the best headset, the best controllers, and the best tracking, depending on what's hot at the time. I certainly welcome that, but Oculus certainly seem to be in their little closed ecosystem, like this is what we have, this is what you need to use, and this is what we offer. So I don't think they'll join that kind of open VR system in terms of what we currently have on Steam VR, but certainly I welcome it, and I think it's going to be a really interesting dynamic in the future that you can have a headset from one company, maybe a pair of haptic gloves from another company, and a vest and some sort of treadmill from another company that all works with each other. I think that will be a really interesting dynamic, and I certainly welcome that. So I hope that answers your question. So this is a great question from Chris Colbert on Facebook. What are your most valuable insights from this last year of being a VR YouTuber and personality? Have your projections for growth met your expectations when you decided to do this full-time. So yeah, if you're not aware, I've been doing this full-time for around 9 months now, and I knew at the time that it was a bit of a risk, but it's something that I wanted to do. You just have to do these things in life sometimes, and if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to doing what you're normally doing, but I just thought it was a perfect opportunity for me to try something else in my life, and I'm totally pleased that I did. You know, it's been an interesting and wild ride since then, and I haven't looked back since. But in terms of my projections of growth, yeah, I think the channel's done super well this year. I'm super pleased where we are right now. I still think the VR industry is really small. I think the Oculus Go, which was coming out around the time that I left my job, was a good boost for me and the channel and a good boost for the industry. And I think the Oculus Quest and other standalone headsets will give this sort of industry and the channel a boost next year when that comes out. But generally speaking, you know, the word of VR is getting out there much more. You know, people like PewDiePie and Shroud and other big players on YouTube, for example, are now playing VR games, a lot just recently, in fact, so it's great that the word is getting out there. But like I've said before, you know, the biggest thing we need to do is get more people into headsets, so I hope the VR industry works out a way of doing that, maybe with sort of self-sufficient kiosks, so you don't need people to man them, for example, and they can just kind of walk into a store and try VR without there being an assistant talking them through it. Something like that would really help, I think. But generally, I'm happy with where I am and the channel is and the industry is right now, and I just think it's going to get bigger and better from here. So thank you very much for the question. I really appreciate it. This is a question on Facebook from Peter Singer Towns, and he asks, in his Oculus Go Black blog post, Palmer Luckey praised Nolo due to its recent updates and said it was an amazing and impressive wireless desktop VR experience. Have you recently revisited the Nolo and given it another chance? Yes, I actually have. Last week on the channel, you can go and check it out, I revisited Nolo and checked out their new Nolo Home application. And the good thing about this was that you could now install Nolo Home application on your Oculus Go super easily now. You don't have to sideload it anymore, which was a really painful process. So now they've made it super simple to get it on your Oculus Go, and now super simple to stream Steam VR content from your PC to your Oculus Go headset and use the Nolo head tracker and 2 fully tracked controllers to play Steam VR games with your Oculus Go headset. Now the thing is, I thought the app was a big improvement, however the hardware still had that latency to it and still had its limitations in terms of tracking because it only uses a single base station for tracking, so turning around in a play space causes problems. So if you already have a VR capable PC, then I would say just save your money and go and get a Windows MR headset or an Oculus Rift or a Vive. You're going to have a much better experience with a fully fledged VR headset from those manufacturers rather than sort of hacking together an Oculus Go with the Nolo. So although I think they've improved things, I would still say a true PC VR headset is the way to go if you want the best experience. Next question is on YouTube from My Name is Connor, I'm the android sent by Cyberlife. A little Easter egg there if you've ever checked out Detroit Becoming Human, great game on the PS4. He asks, do you think any future VR headset, for example the Pimax 5K and up, has a chance of overtaking Oculus Rift and or HTC Vive? Okay, I think it's a great question. I don't think the Pimax is going to be the headset to overtake Oculus or HTC. However, I do think one big player in the space has an opportunity to do so, and I do think that is Valve. We've recently been teased from Valve that they're making a VR headset and they're making some VR exclusive games as well. So I think if anyone can do it in this gaming industry, I think it is Valve, and I think if they do release a headset, it's going to be super interesting because you're going to have these 3 big players in the market space competing with each other, and that can only mean one thing for consumers, and that is lower prices. So competition in the market space is great, and I think, yeah, like I said, Valve is probably the one to do it, if anyone. So I think 2019 is going to be a very interesting year for VR indeed, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for the future. Okay guys and girls, so there we have it. That's a Christmas special of Ask Mike Anything. I'd love to know your comments in the comments down below of some of the questions that I post to you in this video. I hope you've all had a very Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Leave a like if you like this video, make sure you're subscribed for all my future content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.